Welcome back, I'm Fires, bringing you another Firefall 1.6 patch guide. This Accord Dreadnaught guide will be my first new Battleframe guide for this new patch that has changed a lot of things. Starting at the beginning for new players, the first decision you need to make is what Battleframe you want to start with. Unlike in the past, this patch locks new players into choosing one Accord Battleframe and sticking with it. In the past, you had access to all 5 Accord frames. While I understand that this limits some of the repetition of leveling up multiple frames through the same areas and content in rapid succession, it also really limits the new player's perception of the game and what the other 4 frames bring to the table. Having said that, I think the Dreadnaught is a great new player frame. Dread has the largest health pool, making them very tanky and very hard to kill. They have standard movement speed and jet energy pool, but a high jet energy refresh rate. So as you can imagine, they're built like tanks, and they pretty much move like tanks. Their physical appearance makes them look very impressive with large armor plates and huge reactor packs on their back. The Dread signature primary weapon is the HMG, or Heavy Machine Gun. This weapon hasn't changed much from the pre-1.6 builds. These guns have huge ammo capacities, huge magazine sizes, very slow reload speeds, and throw a ton of rounds downrange in a very short amount of time. The primary fire will begin by spinning up the barrel to firing speed as indicated by the gray indicator under your character on the heads-up display. This will continue to fire as long as you have the primary fire held down and still have ammo in your magazine. While actively shooting, you will walk slower. One thing to note here is that the spread of your rounds actually improves while you hold down the trigger to a set point. You can see this by how your aiming reticle shrinks down as you fire. The alternate fire button will spin up your barrel, allowing you to start firing more quickly. I'm not sold 100% that this is ever really worth doing. Pre-spinning slows your movement speed as much as actively firing, and the delay for your primary fire to spin up isn't really that long at all. And your firing spread resets to the max size and shrinks down, instead of starting at a cone down state when you begin to fire. Now let's take a peek at the abilities for the Accord Dreadnaught. In prior builds, you had an array of abilities to choose from for your Accord frames. There were the basic handful, plus other more exotic abilities that you could craft or buy from faction vendors. But patch 1.6 has streamlined your choices into, well, you can just decide which order you want them to be in your hotbar. So there's only 3 basic abilities to use now, plus your ultimate ability, also referred to as your HKM, the Hyperkinesis module. Some of the old cherished abilities, like Explosive Rounds and Repulsor Blast, are gone, but we have gotten some new different abilities to play with. At level 3, you get your first ability unlocked called Charge. This is a modified version of the old Rhino Charge ability. When Charge is activated, your Dread will lower his shoulder and activate jets in the reactor pack and boots to rocket you forward a short distance. Enemies touched along the way will be knocked back a bit, but not really take damage. When your Dread reaches the end of the move, they'll do damage to targets in a 5-meter radius. This makes it a bit tricky to learn the distance you need to target, but you can do some crazy damage once you get the hang of it. At level 6, you unlock Heavy Armor. Pre-1.6, Heavy Armor just reduced damage taken for X amount of time. The new Heavy Armor still does that, but it also puts a front-facing energy shield that will block incoming projectiles. So this ability is sort of a combination of the alt fire of some of the old HMGs and the old Heavy Armor. While the ability is active, you can shoot out through the shield normally. The third basic ability is Turret Mode and is unlocked at level 9. Turret Mode has changed a bit from the pre-patch version. The old version would basically cement your feet in place when you activated it, and you had a fire radius of maybe 120 degrees in front of you. You also got a damage absorbing shield that repaired itself over time while you were still in turret mode. The damage shield is gone, but now you can freely spin 360 degrees while locked into place, so that's nice. While in turret mode, your primary weapon has an increased rate of fire as well as increased accuracy. Now you can activate heavy armor while in turret mode if you feel the need to get defensive and don't want to drop out of turret mode. To drop out of turret mode, just activate the ability a second time. At level 10, you unlock your ultimate ability called Absorption Bomb. This was one of my favorite Dread basic abilities in Firefall, but now it's assigned as your HKM. Unlike your 3 base abilities, which have fixed recharge timers, all HKM abilities charge up while you are in active combat. As you leave combat, the charge level slowly drops off. When you activate Absorption Bomb, you go into a nearly invulnerable state for a short amount of time. While you are in this state, you taunt all the enemies around you to attack you. When this state ends, you explode and deal a base amount of damage, plus the amount of damage you absorbed in the prior state, to all the enemies within range. This ability is crazy fun, and so satisfying when you can wipe out an entire room full of enemies. While you level up, you unlock a few perks. Get a Move On will increase your run speed by 10% while your weapon is holstered. I honestly don't find this perk very useful. If I'm traveling a long distance, I'll just be on my LGV or hitting a glider pad. If I'm near combat, why would I holster my gun? Also of note, the action holster weapon is not bound to any key by default, so if you choose to use this perk, you need to go in and bind a key to actually utilize it. At level 15, you unlock the Knockout perk. This perk increases your melee damage by 15%. Also, if you have a hammer or a brawling type auxiliary weapon equipped, it gives your melee attack a 25% chance to stun your target for 2 seconds. This is a solid perk to pick up if you remember to use your melee attack now and then. As for what perks to equip on your Dread, if this is your first character, your choices are going to be limited, obviously. Perks I would suggest are Kinetic Absorption, Optimized Targeting, Sprinter, Extra Plating, Knockout, Prototype Pistons, Incandescent Armor, and Powered Armor, basically in that order of usefulness. There are plenty of other perk choices that you may have access to from other frames or purchased from rep vendors that can modify your primary weapon damage or make you even tankier than you already are. Well, that basically wraps up the Untitled Dreadnaught frame guide. I always hope that you find these guides helpful, fun, and informative. If you have any questions or comments, please respond down below. Please feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more guides. I livestream Firefall and some other games here on YouTube and also over on Twitch and Hitbox. Look for those links down below. Thank you again for your support and for watching. Until next time, happy hunting.